Alright guys, so I'm in the inside of my 2014 Civic Si. I've gotten a lot of questions on how to do these interior pieces. I did the steering wheel, I did the e-brake, I did the shift boot retainer, and I also did the cup holder chrome piece in there. And a lot of people have asked me how to do it. And I also did the door panels. Forgot to mention those door panels. So I decided to do a video finally on it. Now I'm going to teach you guys how to remove the pieces. I'm not going to be wrapping them. I'm going to be showing you how to wrap them. But I'm not actually wrapping them because I don't need to rewrap them. So let's start with the steering wheel. Steering wheel, I can't show you guys. Well, I can, but I don't even remember how to take this part off. I looked up a video on College Hills Honda. They did a good video on how to remove the steering wheel because they did a leather swap. They replaced the leather steering wheel. I don't think it was on an SI, but it's the same exact setup. They did it on different Civics. So look up the video on how to do it there. People have done it without removing this piece. I found it a lot easier to remove it to do it. So yeah, so you're gonna have to take this apart. You might not want to do it if you're afraid of like the airbags and stuff like that, because you will be working in and around the airbag. So just letting you know, you don't actually have to take the steering wheel off. The steering wheel stays on. The airbag will have to come out, I think. I don't know if you can work around it. I actually took it out and I had no issues. So, and then this whole chrome piece or aluminum piece will come right off. And yeah, so that's that. Let's go to the door panel now. So on the door panel, I didn't take anything off or apart. What I did was I just pressed the vinyl on there, used my squeegee and my heat gun, and I heated it up, and then I used the sharper, finer side of the squeegee and pressed it in the grooves and just kept pressing it and working it and wiggling it in there. You can actually move this leather part a little bit on the door panel to get it to fit in there. So yeah, just work it all the way around. Keep working it. Post heat it so it stays in there and doesn't want to pull back out. And then what I did, I had a little razor and I just carefully put it in that groove and cut. And I had no issues. Didn't cut the upholstery at all. Didn't cut this suede or whatever it is. Didn't cut the leather. Didn't cut the plastic. No marring anywhere. So I did it's perfect. And then post heated after that. Same with the other side. So yeah, you don't have to remove it or anything like that. So the door panel is really easy. Okay, now comes the e-brake, the shift boot retainer, and the cup holder. Okay, now the shift boot, or the e-brake, my bad. E-brake handle, I did not know how to do it at first, so learn from my mistakes. So I didn't know how it came out. I assumed if you pull this rubber part out from it, it'd come off. Don't do that, because this will stretch out and it won't form back. Mine came back a little bit, but just don't do it because you don't need to. This is a plastic piece right here, and this is a rubber, and they're joined together. This plastic part, it slides in over everything and like it not clips in, but kind of slides into the rubber part. So you just got to work it off. Don't stretch the leather. It is a pain. If you just keep working it, maybe get a screwdriver. Just be careful not to rip anything. Yeah. So it's slowly coming. It does take some manhandling. Okay, there it goes. So it does take a little work, so you just watch that whole thing. So here's how it goes in. There are these, this is the inside if you can see, there are these clips. They're not clips, but they fit in these grooves around the leather, the rubber in here. And then there's this back piece that goes in here like this. So if you just keep working it, so I stuck a flathead screwdriver down here because I knew this piece was here and just pushed on it and it didn't mess up anything. Mine's perfectly fine. And then so then you can actually pull this rubber, you can pull this part, but when I first did it I was pulling all this up here because I thought it was related to something up here. It did not. It all has to do with right here. So yeah, so pull those clips and push out and it'll eventually come. You just gotta work it. So yeah, I recommend pulling this part, or pulling this plastic piece out and it'll pull it away, and then pushing out it'll eventually slide out, and then it's just snug around right here because I do have vinyl in there, so it kind of puts a little bit of a thicker, it kind of gets rid of some of the space that's usually there. So yeah, that is that piece. Okay, and then set that aside. And now I'm going to do this piece. Now this piece, if you have a pry tool, it'll make it a lot easier. You won't have any issues. I'm gonna go to the passenger side. Yeah, if you have a pry tool, it'll work a lot better than a screwdriver. You won't scratch anything. Otherwise you might have some little gouge marks. Actually, you don't want those. Okay, so if you watch that, I just grabbed over here and tug. All it is clips, and I didn't have to use a screwdriver or a pry tool, so you don't even have to worry about breaking anything or anything like that. So now, once you get that piece off, you have your HDMI, USB, and 12 volt cigarette lighter, 12 volt power outlet thing. Those are all connected via wires back here. Okay, it helps to have your shifting in neutral, I think, or back so you can get back here, because then you're gonna need to unplug the 12 volt, your USB, and your HDMI. It helps go to the passenger side. It naturally wants to twist that way, so I'd recommend doing it that way. I was trying to get by doing it the other way when it wouldn't work. And then there's these clips on the HDMI part, and then okay, so that pulls out like that. Okay, and then it should slide like this. Okay. Okay, now you can go back to your passenger side. It's a lot of going back and forth because it's easier to twist it certain ways due to the fact that the e-brake's in the way and things like that. Get your flathead screwdriver. Not flathead, Phillips. Get your Phillips head screwdriver. Okay, and underneath here there are some Phillips head screws. There's 4 of them.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far.
Careful not to drop them down in your shifter area. That would really suck. So I recommend getting it loose and doing it by hand so you have a better grip. Okay. And then drop that down. And then you can push up from the shifter boot. And that piece should come off pretty easy, just like that. Okay. And then this could also be a video on how to change your shifter boot and stuff like that. And then this exposes all the wires and stuff in here, how you can do a short throw shifter. So yeah. Okay. Okay, I am not gonna show you how to do. Okay, it would help a lot if you take this piece off. It's super easy to do. Just slide it up like that. Put it on the floor over there. Get out of the way. Okay. Okay. Alright, and then this piece just pops straight out like that. Just work it out. Careful not to break it. And that reveals all your e-brake cables, more to the throw, the shifter, and your e-brake assembling, fun stuff like that. So that reveals all that. And then that one doesn't close because the clip for it isn't back. Okay, and now to get the cup holder apart, you need your screwdriver put back together, or your screwdriver. So there's 4. Out like that. And then this piece just pops right out. So this is the cup holder liner. Alright, so now I'm going to take all my pieces to the table and show you how to wrap them. So here's my pieces that I just took out. I showed you how to do. Now how to wrap them. So let's start with the easiest piece first. This piece is actually starting to peel because I didn't post heat it very good because I'm an idiot. Okay, it doesn't matter because it's held in there so tight, it won't go anywhere. So what you do is put this piece, clean it with rubbing alcohol. I forgot to say that. Every time you work with vinyl, you want to have a clean surface. So rub it down with some 91% isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol, just to clean off all the contaminants, oils from your skin. Just make sure it's clean so it has a good bond with the adhesive from the vinyl. So then what you want to do is press it down in the vinyl, work it. You're gonna have to cut a hole in the middle of this one because you got to push it inside and out. Make sure that you do not cut it too cut the hole too big, because you need it to work with to put it inside, and if you cut it too big, then you'll be able to see some of the aluminum through here. So it's always work your way down, cut little bits at a time, cut what you need off. So yeah, and then wrap it behind, pull it tight, get it in all the grooves. Use your squeegee to help push it in these grooves. Don't stretch it too much, it'll throw your pattern off. If you're using a carbon fiber or a different type of pattern. And then just keep working it. This piece is really easy. Post heat it to 95 degrees, I believe it is, after you're done wrapping it so it doesn't form back. Also, when it's installed on the shift boot area, or when it's pushed back on, it'll hold the vinyl because there's all these grooves it slides into. You want to make sure you heat the vinyl and push in on these grooves so it has a good fit back into its original spot, and it'll help it hold it better. So yeah, that's that piece. Super easy. And then just, you're gonna have to cut around all the holes for the screws and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty easy. This piece is also really easy. It's super small. I just did it because I think it looks a lot better in the cup holder area. So yeah, just this piece is the e-brake is the hardest, but this is the next hardest. So yeah, so you're gonna have to. So what I did was put one big piece on so I wouldn't have a groove. I put one big piece like this and then worked it to the inside and stretched it all the way around. That way I don't have like a single line where there's gonna be a seam, so it's seamless. So yeah, just work it like that, stretch it, push it in this groove all the way around. You're gonna have to cut first and then push it in the groove, and just work your way around. That's all I really know how to help you on this one. And then on the back side, cut and wrap to the back like this. And you're gonna have to cut it in weird angles because this is an odd piece. But yeah, you don't even need to do this piece if you don't want to, but I did it anyway because I like it. So yeah, and then remember to post heat it afterwards. Okay, now comes e-brake. This was the hardest part. This does have a seam. I did it at the bottom because I tried to put the vinyl like here and wrap it, but it was just so many angles that were counteracting each other. So I tried because I didn't want a seam. Ended up, what I did was I made a cut at the bottom, so that way this is like, it'll pull differently and I can wrap it around. And then so I made the seam at the bottom right here, and then I pushed it all inside. I don't know, it's hard to explain right now, but when you try to keep it all one piece, it was just pulling at different angles and it was causing it to bubble in certain areas or have creases. And no matter how much heat I used, since I'm new, I'm not a professional at this, so it wasn't coming out perfect. So I made a seam and it looks so much better. And you can't even see the seam because it's at the bottom. You can feel it, but you can't see it. And then push all of it back in here. I used a towel or my finger to heat it up and push it in there so it's nice and tight so the e-brake button can still come through. And then the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Just use heat, stretch, don't stretch too much, you'll throw your pattern off. Cut the back, wrap, leave these clips open, and then just tuck back here. And once you install it, it'll pull all the vinyl back tight, and you won't be able to see any little bubbles on the bottoms really. So yeah, that's that. So now I'm going to go and put it back on the car. Alright, so now we're going to work backwards. So what we need to do first is put the cup holder boot back in. I don't know if it matters which way it goes. I forgot, honestly. Yes, it does matter. So if you're holding the boot like this, there's a gap, and that gap goes where this clip is. And then yeah, there's some little clips that pop into place. They'll just pop right back in. So put it like that. Grab your cup holders. No, clean it out. It's gonna be dusty. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It'll only go one way. So yeah, that's that. Grab your screws. Now the screws are different. The screws from the shift boot retainer and this cup holder are different. These with the pointy tip are for the cup holders. These with the flat tips, if you can see that difference right there, these are for the shift boot retainer. So it doesn't matter which screws go back where. So just letting you know. So then twist to the left, find that groove because it is plastic. You don't want to strip the original thread pattern. Screw it back in. Okay, and that's it. So then now that that piece is done and installed tightly, Go back, make sure all your screws are snug so they're not going to fall out when you're driving down the road or anything and fall to a place where it's going to be hard to find them. And so, yep, just like that. Okay, now it's ready to go on. So finagle it around your shifting area. And it shoulda, coulda, woulda, pop right back in place. You should have no issues. Make sure that closes properly. Everything pops back in, and that should be golden. Okay, now to do the console area. Okay, so now the way this goes back on is it goes, you put this through like that, these fit in the grooves like this, and then the shift boot retainer goes over like this, and it'll all click back in. Okay, and now that that's put back together that way, you get your screws and make sure you don't strip them, screw them back in hand tight, so you won't drop them. So then go back, make sure they're all snug. Careful not to scratch your interior, because that would really suck. Okay, so that should be good. And then go to the driver's side, because that's the easier side to work with when connecting pieces back. So there's 3 of the wires that need to go back together. Okay, all those are back in. Make sure they go the right way. The HDMI cord is the hardest one because it actually pops out. You want to make sure the flattest side, the flat long side, is to the right. So then make sure you angle it in like this. Pop it all back in, and we are good. Should be. Okay, now that that's all put back together, clips right back in. Everything's snug. Good. All these are good. Okay. Now comes the e-brake handle. Okay. So the way you do this is you gotta slide it over the button and make sure it fits back in that groove. And it'll just slide right back in, and it's good. And now it'll be snug and hard to get it back out if you ever need to get it back out. And that's it.